real quick, that first book,
Yeah.
when I started writing, the first thing that I taught myself was, again, I never took a creative writing class. Did you ever take a creative
Hmm.
writing class?
I took I think like an intro creative writing senior in college, but I'm not formally trained by any
Most
means. I don't have
definitely.
an MFA or
So
anything.
yeah, so what I did to teach myself in that early stage, that I did the same thing. I banged out some crappy thing, but I created, just in my terminology, it's called word vomit, where it was
Mm.
just that first draft was just like, I just need to get it on the page. Teach yourself the discipline of getting it on the page first. Worry about if it's any good later. When you did
Mm.
that first, whatever that ended up being, what were you kind of just like, you were so in the moment, you were just taking it away? Were you editing? Was there doubt? What were you feeling when you did that first thing?
My brother, I wasn't, I was not intentional in any way of like, let me just word bomb it. I was like, I probably didn't say to myself, I'm going to write the next masterpiece, but I was like, I'm going to write something wild and
Most
people are
def.
going to love it. And I'm going to talk
When I
about
say
a bunch of
look, when
crazy
I say
stuff.
word vomit, I don't mean the quality of the work. I mean the quantity of the work. So words, just simply getting it on the page.
Sure.
That's what I meant.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know though if I was conscious of that. I knew that I wanted to write. I knew that it felt better than anything I'd done in so long, that I forgot what time it was when I was writing, that I felt the master of my domain, and I felt like I could actually create something worthwhile. So again, I wrote that book. It was like 94,000 words in 4.5 months. I got a one-way ticket to Costa Rica because I had a little money I saved up.
94,000. I like that. You know the exact number.
Yeah. Well, I remember numbers, man.
I
Numbers
do
that
too.
matter to me. And when I went to Costa Rica, right, I got out of the States. I, again, coming from this world of sales, I was like, yo, I'm going to hit up the presidents of all these literary agencies, the best literary agencies in the world. I see there's advice not to call these people up unless you're nice on the phone. I'm nasty on the phone. I'd
Long
call these
Island,
people up.
baby. I love it.
I,
Love
I'd,
it.
I'd call these people up and they say, why are you calling? Hang up, right? So I pitched the workout and I had no idea what I was doing. So when I got rejections that weren't even form rejections, but it felt like it was a real rejection from big people that were like, no, pass, or thanks, whatever. I was like, whoa, I'm legit. I'm getting rejections now.
Same
I
here.
wasn't
Yeah.
upset. I was like, hell yeah, this is real. So
And that's the
with
way
that
to
first,
be, but that's the way to be about it.
you have to, right? I think I quoted this once. I believe it's Winston Churchill who said that the definition of success is going from one failure to another with enthusiasm. And what I don't lack at all is enthusiasm, right? So with that book, I ended up getting a little feedback from like a friend of a friend who's in the writer world, and she told me like to cut part of my query. Someone else was like, yo, maybe cut this first chapter. So I ended up getting 9 agents who requested to read it. And January 2017, when I got those 9 requests, partial and full, for that first novel, and I was like, damn, this is about to happen.
Had you brought it
Sorry,
to
what
an
did you say?
editor? Were you editing this first piece of? Yeah,
Bro,
exactly.
it was unedited. It was
Yeah.
completely unedited. I didn't know what I was doing. So, but I had a crazy amount of like ignorance and confidence, right? So, but I had these 9 agents, and I was like, yeah, this is happening. And then what happened? The pitch was good, right? Because I know how to pitch, but the writing didn't stand up. These people were like, yo, there's mad energy, but you need to work on a lot, like plot and structure, characters, all this stuff. And all those 9 agents, they either replied and rejected, or they didn't even get back to me, right? Which I feel like if an agent requests your work, it's completely disrespectful for them to not follow up. Now, just ignoring your query, fine. They get hundreds. But to request it, that's disrespectful. And I'm
I
all
never
about
got that
power of
far.
the
Yeah, I
writer.
only got rejections. Interesting you say that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you will, right? So it's just like, um, there this is just a whole nother conversation about gatekeepers and disrespect in the
Talk it
literary
up,
world,
brother.
and just power. But my point is that first novel, it didn't go anywhere, rightly so. And I also had agents telling me like, hey, this is young adult. Your character is 17, you should age him to 16. Telling me all this stuff that they probably thought was good advice, but it's also a little ridiculous, right? You need to write what you want to write, irrespective of genre or the boxes that something is placed in, even though you definitely do need to package it up in a way to sell it and then to market it. So that first book, nothing happened. I don't want to just like talk the listener's ear off, but I kept traveling, right? I got back to the States. Sorry, I was in the States for like January, February. And then I started doing some consulting with tech startups so that I could make money. And I said, you know what? I don't need to stay in the States. So I got a one-way ticket to Bali. At first, I was like, Bali? I'm not going to Bali. That's like Julia Roberts, middle-aged white woman, eat, pray, love shit. But then I was like, yo, I don't know these Balinese, these Indonesian people. Who am I to yeah, people live there, right? That's such a egocentric, like Western specific mentality, right? You're propping up a Western person or a Western piece of art to represent a whole place of beautiful brown people. So I went.
It's like My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Exactly, right? It's just ridiculous. So I went and I was reading this book called Plot and Structure that I got off of Amazon. You're frozen, but now you're not. And I got this book off Amazon by James Scott Bell. And I was reading that. I was reading like a chapter a day on Bali. And I was studying it religiously because one agent said that if you work on your plot and structure, I think you can pull this book together. So I was working on that, man. I was reading. I was also writing like travel articles and selling them for like 25, 40 bucks, just generating confidence. Got back to the States eventually, edited that second book, which was it was like a rewrite of the first, edited it with a friend. Nothing happened. No representation. Had some agents look at it, but nothing. So then I was at Creative Rock Bottom.
Same agents as the previous book. Were you working with those same people the second time around?
Some were from that first batch. Some were new. Yeah. I was also better understanding how to pitch. Like I was moving away from the extreme of like being like shooting wildly into the dark, and then knowing that who you pitch is as important as how you pitch and what you're pitching. It's honestly more important than what you're pitching and how you're pitching it, because if you don't have the person this is going to resonate with, you're wasting the email, you're wasting the query, and you're probably going to be, decreasing your energy levels depending on who you are and how well you take rejection.
Yes.
So nothing happened with that. Creative Rock Bottom, November 2018. Stephen King's On Writing helped me get out of a rut, helped me recontextualize. It's cliche, brother. Happened to you too?
But it is and it's not, because other authors have talked about it. But at the same time, that's like, I'm going to be doing a pod. You've never heard of this guy. I'm doing a podcast. His name's Paul Zolo. And he wrote a book called Songwriters on Songwriting. And it's just him interviewing Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell. You list everyone. And we're all human, right? So Stephen King, for people who don't know, wrote a book called, and it's the only Stephen King book I've read, and it's called On Writing, and it's half bio-ish, half craft. And he tells you, he talks about the rejection, he talks about these things, and for anyone who hasn't read it, I mean, there's invaluable lessons in that book for sure. I'm stoked that we both have, for sure.